Hello, this is Rights4Wookies, and today I'm playing some Magic the Gathering 2012, and this video is just really about the new DLC, which I'm sure all of you will know about. So the DLC has 3 new decks. I believe they are the Auramancer, Grave Whispers, and Cloudburst. And the gameplay here is going to be one match with the Grave Whispers, which is, I think the deck was fully unlocked at the time when I was using it, and there's a game with the Auramancer deck, and I literally had about 2 cards unlocked when I was playing that, and I haven't done anything with the Cloudburst deck yet. I'm gonna try and unlock fully the Auramancer deck, and then I'll move on to that, because when I played through the campaign matches, it seemed like it wouldn't be a deck which is sort of my favourite type of deck. I mean, this obviously every other player you play online is using the Grave Whispers deck, and that's because, I mean, making people discard is just fun. I'm gonna say I just outright like making people discard. It's funny, it's upsetting when it happens to you, and it's just, I don't know, I enjoy it. So I think that's why everyone likes the Grey Whispers deck. It's just fun to make people discard, and it is also a really good deck. But actually the Auramancer deck is also really good, and you'll see when I play my game it's actually against Grave Whispers, and even the other guy has it completely fully unlocked, although he hasn't trimmed it, and I have almost no unlocks, and I still managed to beat him quite convincingly. So that actually shows that that deck can be really good. But the general topic for today was, I was just really going to talk a little bit about the DLC and give you guys my thoughts on the DLC and DLC in general. So what I thought about the DLC was that generally I really liked it. There were some really nice small subtle changes which I really liked, which I think a lot of people might not have sort of thought of as standout things about the DLC. So obviously the big things which everyone likes are new decks. I mean, 3 whole new decks is really great, especially when the DLCs, I think it's only $3.99, so that 3 whole new decks is really good. And obviously the other big thing is that, as well as those decks being 20 extra cards along with the 60, so that's 80 to choose from, you also get 4 extra cards for the new decks. But for the old decks, you get 4 extra cards, taking out again 80 to choose from. But I didn't really like the extra cards. I don't know why, but I mean, if you go and look at all of them, there seems to be a theme of sort of area of effect spells, as it were. So I mean, in everything, every deck has sort of, you know, every player takes this number of damage. Each opponent loses a card. Each creature without flying, each creature with flying. And to be honest, I'm not usually a particularly big fan of those, and often I find a lot of them aren't particularly useful when it says stuff like each opponent sacrifices a creature and you gain a 2/2 goblin for each creature sacrificed this way. If you're not playing 2-headed giant or 3 or 4 player, and I generally don't play 3 or 4 players, that's really not that great, to be honest. So I didn't really like that. There were a couple of good cards. I think the elf deck has a 8/8 sort of Hydra thing for 6, which is pretty nice. And obviously there are other good cards, but generally I wasn't super happy with the extra cards. So those are the 2 main things: the new decks, which I was very happy with, particularly because they're quite diverse and not like any of the old decks. And then the extra cards for the old decks, which I didn't really like very much. But there were quite a few subtle things. So obviously the big thing for console players, which didn't really affect us on PC, was that they now have a ranked playlist where you can't see what deck your opponent's playing. So that's a really big thing for console, which we don't need to worry about because you already can't see what your opponent's playing, which is really great. But the small things which I liked were, if you go into a lobby with someone, there's a text chat. So often you get into a game and someone's clearly sort of left their computer and they weren't ready up, and you ready up, so now you can type into the chat, you know, ready up so we can play or whatever, and then it might send them a little ping, as you can see there it says all in the bottom left quickly for a second. This, what you're seeing now, the new artwork, is really great. It's probably not a big thing for people who don't play a lot, but when you play quite a lot, it is quite frustrating looking at the same. I think there was only like 4 or 5 pictures before the DLC which you looked at when you had a loading screen, and it seems like now I'm seeing new ones all the time. Maybe it's just because I feel like there's loads, but there's at least an extra 5, if not 6 or 7. So that's a really great thing, which seems like a very small addition, but actually is really nice. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those were the two big small things, as it were. The new pictures for the loading screens and the text chat, and obviously the other things from the DLC. So overall I think it's really great, and to be honest, I'm perfectly happy to get DLC. A lot of people say, if they can bring it out as DLC, why don't they put it in the old game? But to be honest, if they put it in the old game, then they think, oh, we're releasing a game with 13 decks, then they charge the price of the game with the DLC, and I think it makes it interesting actually, and a bit more exciting if you have it released gradually throughout a period, because it's very easy to get, very close to when the DLC was coming out, I was getting a little bored of playing the decks, because by then you know which decks you like, you know which decks you don't like, and you have some decks you play a lot. So it is really nice to get some new decks further through the game cycle, and obviously I think they're going to be doing more DLC. They did 3 for the first one, I believe, so I think they released that they were going to be doing at least 3 overall, maybe some more. So that's really good. I love having it staggered, that way you get to sort of enjoy it, and I wouldn't like to receive 6 new decks all at once and have to spend all the time unlocking them. I think 3 is a good number. It's very easy to decide which ones you like, which ones you don't like. It's a lot easier to unlock all the new cards and everything like that. I don't particularly like paying for new cards. I just realised while I was talking about that the big thing, which obviously I missed out, is Archenemy. And for those of you, some of you have requested, can you play Archenemy? And the reason why there is never going to be any Archenemy on the channel is both Protein and I hate Archenemy. For those of you who aren't aware, the new thing about Archenemy is you can now play as the Archenemy, as it were, against 3 other players if you do it online, or you can do it, there's a single player mode, so you play against the AI, but I really don't, that's not something which interests me, and the old Archenemy isn't something which interests me either, so you're not going to be seeing any of that. That's why I forgot to mention it, because it just doesn't interest me in any way, shape or form. So if you want to see Archenemy, sorry, you're going to have to go somewhere else. But if you want to see some single player 1v1s, that's what I love. I think it's a lot more tactical, and it's a lot less luck based, and whatever those enchantments are, which you draw schemes, that's it. As the Archenemy, I just don't enjoy that. I think it's a bit, I don't know. I think 3v1, it's always going to be hard to balance it. Either it's going to be the schemes are too good and it's impossible for the 3 people when they're losing all their permanents every other turn, or it's just not going to be good enough and the one person can't hold out against 3 other people. That's just ridiculous. So sorry, but the reason I forgot about that is that I just don't enjoy Archenemy. I don't understand it at all. So yeah, here you can see this is the match I was talking about earlier, where he's using the Grave Whispers and I'm using Auramonster, and as you can see, I think I had a really sort of perfect draw for Auramonster. So what I have is I have 2 creatures, 1 flying, 1 not, which is a really great setup, and neither of them are particularly good when they start off. I think one was a 2/2, the flyer's a 2/1, and then essentially you just start equipping some auras, and because of them they become really good. I now have a 6/4 and a 5/4 on the table, and I'm really fortunate in that he didn't get any discard plays out early. So I wasn't sitting there with 7 good cards in hand and having to pick ones I had to get rid of. I essentially played all my cards very quickly, so he didn't have a lot of time to make me discard, and actually that's what you want to do against Grave Whispers. That's the best thing you can do, is just use all your cards to their fullest effect early on, and then he can't make you discard them, because even if it's not a great usage of them, it's better to play them in an average way instead of just discarding them and using them for nothing. So as you can see, he's down to 4 and I'm still at 20. Admittedly, that's probably because he hasn't trimmed his deck. You can see in the top he's got 64 cards and he's got 5 in his hand, so he probably started out with something like 75 cards, which is really stupid. In the second turn you saw him play Demon's Horn, and I laughed so hard when I saw that the first time. That's the best thing, when turn 2 comes and someone plays one of those artifacts, gain 1 life for a specific colour, you know that you're probably going to win. They always have untrimmed decks as well. It makes me laugh and it makes me very happy, and pretty sure now, yeah, I've got this game on hand. He can't really do anything. If he blocks the flyer, then he just takes 10, and even if he triple blocks the 10/8, it's got trample, so he's still going to take 5 damage and then the 5 from my flyer. So that's a nice game with Aura Monster. Hope you enjoyed the game with Grave Whispers as well. And if you haven't got the DLC, you should definitely check it out, or definitely get it as well. It's really great. Hope you enjoyed, and I will definitely see you next time.